Houston had a tricky choice to make here. They were going to be having an element of two timelines probably regardless when you have $60 million and then you have a bunch of young prospects and you are actually required to spend that money. You're not going to be able to spend that kind of money on, more young players. That's just not how it works. So the choice for them became, as we've well chronicled, okay, is James Harden the guy? And, like I learned recently and like I wrote, it was actually a few weeks back that they made a choice not to go down the Harden road. Words certainly got back to him and played a part in his situation. But Ime Udoka being there, first year head coach, I think would prefer to have a longer runway, would prefer to have, a program that where you at least, if it's two timelines, that they are a little closer together than, something like James Harden coming back or even a Kyrie Irving coming back because they had a little bit of interest in Kyrie. So they do VanVleet, they do Dylan Brooks, they try to do Brook Lopez. They get 2 out of 3. I don't know where it leaves them because honestly, like they're going to win more games. They'll be, I think, fun to watch because I do want to see what the new guys do and Jalen Green getting better, things of that nature. But, are they sniffing a play-in game? I'd probably not. So it's a weird one out there because the only reason I thought the Harden thing might happen months ago was because Tillman Fertitta spent all of his early ownership with the Rockets, like, being kind of the belle of the ball, like contending in the West every single year on a very, very high level. And it seemed like he actually wanted to speed the program up in the kind of way to get back to that, which maybe with Harden you could have gotten closer. But yeah, this is a different track and we'll see how it looks.
Yeah, there's just not organizational patience for a rebuild. You go up the road, Oklahoma City is like probably the poster child of like this really patient rebuild. I mean, they're still just like, we'll take Berton's contract and like Sam Presti is not fast forwarding that process at all. Houston is, they owe a top 4 protected to the Thunder. So they're kind of not obsessed with their own draft pick this year. They bring Udoka in, as you mentioned. He clearly has a lot of sway. And they're just trying to win. And I think we saw last year they were like a very just like disorganized group that like didn't have veteran leadership. I think Udoka's trying to solve some of that too, right? Jeff Green 1 year $6 million was kind of an awkward deal, but I assume it's because everybody loves Jeff Green, right? Get him in the locker room, have him have conversations with guys.
No, he's the right kind of guy as far as
Yeah,
getting an
for
adult
sure.
in the room. He's great.
Yeah.
And again, even Dylan, I talked earlier about like, or maybe it's a different conversation, but with Udoka, I think Udoka and Dylan can connect. I actually think that that'll be a good partnership. And so I would probably expect a very good year out of Dylan, whose
I'm just
contract, by
curious
the
him
way,
on the offensive end because I do think he believes he should be able to shoot more than I think an ideal team that wants to win would want. They want, hey, go be the defensive ace. I think he's like, yeah, but also take 15 shots a game.
right. But I would counter that by saying that to me, Ime in his 1 year in Boston showed that, like, I mean, he's not ever uncomfortable telling players what he wants them to hear. And I do think he will tell Dylan what he expects out of him offensively. And it'll be one of those, if no ifs, ands, or buts about it type of thing. Maybe I'll be wrong, but I think he can handle that component.
Yeah.
I hated it. I
What did you want, Fred?
If you're gonna miss out, I understand that when an organization gets to a point, and for those just listening, I'm using air quotes, when an organization gets to a point where they're over the tank, they're over losing, you got to be more competitive the next year. That's usually something that at the very least starts with ownership. And I understand that when it starts with ownership and you miss out on good players and that the goal is you have to be more competitive in the upcoming season, then you start to worry, okay, well, if we're not competitive in the upcoming season, then what's going to happen to my job and everybody else's jobs? And I understand that people work that way. So I'm not necessarily calling out Rafael Stone here because I don't know what those inner dynamics are there, but just the organization in general. I understand that when you miss out on guys, you go out and you try to get competitive with Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks. The long-term money, what would I have liked? I would have liked them to say, well, we missed everybody. Let's sign 1-year deals and just go back into the market next year. Or let's try to take on some of these unwanted contracts and go back into the market next year. That's what I would have liked to have seen them do, as opposed to just throwing a 4-year commitment at Dylan Brooks when you don't know what kind of team you're going to be. And you're still trying to develop these guys. You're still trying to develop the young guys. And if Dylan Brooks does come out and does keep shooting all the time, like, why would Jalen Green not say, well, then why can't I shoot all the time? Why wouldn't Kevin Porter Jr. say, well, then why can't I shoot all the time?
Sam made the right point, though. That's why they hired Ime Udoka, right? That was somewhat of a controversial hire, but I assume organizationally their belief is like he will solve that problem.
And I think
maybe I just don't like the long-term commitments to a team that I think we probably all agree is not even a play-in team.
I don't know Fred VanVleet all that well, but in terms of just what you hear, what you see, mostly from a distance, Fred to me is the kind of guy who's going to tell his guys what he needs, what he wants. He's a pretty tough-minded individual. The Jeff Green thing, I think that's another voice in the room. We'll see though. I mean, those are extremely fair questions to raise, Fred. And, if it goes the other way and if Slater and I are wrong and the right message doesn't get through and Dylan is Dylan, like the old days, then yeah, like, and guess what? 4 years. That's a long time. So, it was a weird offseason.
And even VanVleet, like Fred VanVleet he's a very nice player. He really is. And by all accounts, you talk to anybody in Toronto or who has ever played with him, and people glow about him, and they glow about his personality and his work ethic and his leadership and just everything you could possibly say. And from that perspective, I think he's great for them. And when I heard they had interest in him, a long time ago, you started hearing the rumblings and you're like, okay, that makes perfect sense. He's the personality and the quality of player and decision maker and all that they want. But like Fred VanVleet also has a 50% career effective field goal percentage. He was 49 last year, 51 the year before that, and 49 the year before that. Like, he's not exactly a modicum of efficiency, and you're playing a max salary to him now. It's just a lot. Like, it's just a lot of money for Fred VanVleet. And I would have just gone short-term commitments and then gone back into the market next year with the same amount of space.